17 minutes after 9 o'clock, this just in, always on. Huntington local schools are now closed for the day. You might see some more of that tomorrow with those wind chills getting really nasty.
We're assuming that's the cold and not the cold.
Right, exactly. Well, speaking of which, you know, it's not a big secret. The flu has hit Ohio really hard this year. I've got a pretty good case of something going on myself.
Well, we wanted to break it down a bit for you because it can be so complicated. This season especially, it seems so bad already. So to get some of the answers that maybe are the questions you want to hear from, we have with us today. Actually, first
let's
we'll
talk about statistics first.
My bad. Let's go to the statistics, then we'll introduce our guest. Is this for real? Wow. In 2013, Ohio flu hospitalizations were 562. You don't have to be a mathematician to see the jump in that number.
Wow.
2014, Ohio flu hospitalizations.
Now, here's one that's a little more disturbing.
Wow.
This is pediatric deaths, all right? So this is just Ohio. So far this season, we have already had 4 babies die, children die with the flu.
Wow.
Last year, all season, there were only 2.
That's
so,
awful.
I mean, that, you know, a 100% increase over last year. That's a big deal. Mary Diorio is here this morning. She's the medical director for the Ohio Department of Health. We're all so sick. What's happening?
It's been a bad flu season so far. A lot of people have been getting sick earlier than usual. Flu season often we see peaking in Ohio January, February. This year we started seeing a lot of cases November and December.
Well, Dr. Diorio, we were talking about just the different variations of this bug. I've heard people have the intestinal flu.
Right.
Some people are having like a deep bronchitis type thing.
Speaking of which,
he just gave me whatever he had.
Right, sure.
What is it? What's going around?
Right, so we're seeing different viruses. The one that we're most concerned with is the flu virus. That's a respiratory virus. It causes usually fever, cough, chills, body aches.
This one seems worse than before, though. I mean, every year the flu pops up, but this one seems particularly nasty.
It is. So it's a strain called the H3N2 strain, and it causes more severe illness and more hospitalizations. So last year, the strain that we saw wasn't the H3N2 that was the one spreading the most, and so we had a more mild season last year. But this year we're seeing a lot of this H3N2.
So those who got the flu vaccine were probably likely not getting it for that, if that wasn't in last year's mix as much?
So every year we have to get a flu vaccine, because the one we got the year before won't have protection for us in the current year. And also the viruses keep changing. So unfortunately what happened this year is the strain of flu we're seeing is not a great match to what we have in the vaccine. So even people who got vaccinated might still become ill because it's not a good match to the vaccine.
But can the vaccine still help?
Yes, we definitely believe that the vaccine could probably help someone maybe not get as severely ill, maybe not, you know, end up hospitalized. So we definitely still encourage people to get vaccinated.
So why can't they whip out a new batch?
It takes a long time to make the vaccine, several months. And so what happens actually about February of every year, they start deciding what strains to protect against for the next season. And then they start manufacturing it spring and summer. So it takes several months, unfortunately, to make the vaccine.
I mean, we're talking about forecasting a virus that, you know, may or may not be there, and you've got to take just a good stab at it.
Right, and most of the time the World Health Organization and CDC do an excellent job predicting what viruses are going to be circulating. But sometimes the viruses change, which is what happened, and then it's a bit of a problem for us.
So are we spreading this airborne? Is that the problem?
It spreads airborne predominantly when people cough and sneeze, but it can also spread on surfaces. So that's why we talk about frequent hand washing, because if you touch a surface and then touch your nose, your mouth, you can pick up the virus and spread it to yourself.
But if it's just on your hands, if you can wash that off before you touch something else, then you're relatively protected.
Absolutely. Hand washing is a perfect way to protect yourself, not only from flu, but from the other viruses we were talking about as well that can cause stomach illnesses and those kinds of things that you can also pick up.
So let's say that your office is a petri dish, and you know that it's running around your office. In other words, as long as you don't touch your face, you might be okay and wash your hands a lot?
It definitely can provide protection. Now, we would say the best way to protect against the flu is the vaccination, but frequent hand washing is another really good way to protect as well.
Okay, all right. We need to go through a lot of it because it's going to be going on for, what, the next few months anyway?
Right. Flu season goes into the spring. Sometimes we see different viruses that can start spreading as well. So although right now we're seeing the H3N2, you know, an influenza B virus might pick up and start spreading more.
Mary, thanks very much.
Yes, right.
right?
And do take care of the young ones and the elderly. They are particularly at risk.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're most concerned about very young children, older individuals, people with medical conditions, chronic medical conditions like asthma or diabetes, and pregnant women as well are at high risk.
Okay.
Mary, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
If you like this info, and you should, let's get all schooled on it. It's posted on our website. Go to gooddaycolumbus.com. Click on news links. It will be where you see flu forecasts, so you can keep your family safe.